So, first YouTube video. Okay, anyway. My name is Lauren, and this is my YouTube channel where I'm going to talk about books, amongst other things, doing other things, clothes, my life, if I feel like it. But we're going to start out with my April wrap-up. So what I read in April, some books that I've been looking at, you know. And yeah, so welcome all. Thanks for watching. If you're watching, you're a real one. So let's get started! Okay, so to start off, the first book that I read in April, Do Not Disturb by A.R. Torr. This is the second book in the Girl in 6E series. So this story is about this girl who something very tragic happened in her past. We don't know what that is. And she kind of gets more into it in the second one versus the first one. I read the first one like 2 or 3 years ago. But basically, so she thinks that she has these urges to like kill people. She locks herself in her apartment, 6E. Basically lives off the internet. She's a cam girl. That's how she gets her money. She's got hellish money. Lots of money saved up in her offshore accounts. She rich. She bougie. But not actually, because she just saves all her money, which is smart. I condone this. And then it's like she'll order her food off of the internet and then everything gets delivered to her house and they kind of get into it. She gets into it. But she locks herself in her apartment because she doesn't want to kill people. She doesn't want to hurt people. So we have a morally gray-ish character. Love her. She's great. It just tells the story of like one of her clients, there's something bad that he's involved in. She tries to stop it. It's essentially the first book. And then the second book, there's 3 books and I have the third one as well. But the second one, she goes on another adventure, sort of, and she's trying to, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to spoil it, but that's pretty much the premise of the book. Her development as the character, dealing with the battles she's fighting in her head about morality and like what's right and wrong. What she's doing, if it's wrong, if it's right for the certain reason. I gave this book a 4 stars, I think. Yeah, 4 stars. Very fast paced. You don't want to put it down. I did not want to put it down. So 4 stars. Also, the author lives in Key West, and the bookstore that I bought these books from, she apparently comes in there, which I thought was so cool and awesome. 4 stars. Then I listened to The One by John Mars. That's about this woman made this dating app. You find your match, so you submit your DNA, and they match you with someone who you are biologically meant to be with. I listened to this book only because I thought I had it, but it was a different book. So I just ended up listening to a completely random audiobook, but it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. Pretty much the premise is it's following like 4 or 5 different storylines of these different people who have found their matches, and it's actually insane. Each person's story is so crazy. It's a thriller book. This is also a thriller, FYI. Oh my goodness. It's so, like, the end, I was roped in. We followed like the main woman who created the app. She found her match. And then we followed like 4 or 5 different people from around the world and the different plot lines of falling in love with someone. I don't know, I felt like it gave very much different aspects of love and how different types of love that there is. Like, you think you're in a happy relationship and then you find someone who you didn't mean to, you accidentally find them, and you realize that they could be your match because this app kind of told you. It makes you question your love for someone and your relationship that you're in with someone, which I thought was very interesting. It was just such a fun story to hear all these people's like point of views and their struggle with love. 4 stars. Would recommend for a thriller. Okay, so then the third book that I read was actually a reread. The first Magnolia Parks book. There is 3 books. They just came out with the 3rd Magnolia Parks book, came out earlier this year, I think in March. And so there's the Magnolia Parks universe, there's the Daisy Hates universe. I have the first Daisy Hates book, and that's why I reread this, because I wanted to read it soon. I read this when I first got it maybe a year ago. It's like kind of like a soap opera, but with English people who are super rich. Their troubles are not with money. It's their relationship with other people, their parents, trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives because they don't need to work because they have all of this money. Our main character, Miss Magnolia, she, there's a guy who is mowing the grass. Anyway, Miss Magnolia is, oh my god, I'm so distracted right now. There's a man, his name is Baxter James Valentine, BJ Valentine if you will. Their relationship is very toxic. So this entire story is a character study of these people. They broke up, something happened, BJ and Magnolia broke up, then Magnolia will just go get a boyfriend to make BJ jealous, and then BJ will go sleep with some girl, then Magnolia will go get a boyfriend, and that's how she counteracts his sleeping with someone. That's her revenge, and then he gets mad, and then they get mad at each other, but then they get back together and like are almost together, and then he does something or she does something, and it breaks them apart again. That is the entire story. Look at this cover. I don't know. Okay, a beautiful cover, by the way. I rated this story, I think it was 4 stars. I gave this 4 stars just because the first time I read it pissed me off because I was like, oh my gosh, can these people just make up their minds, and do they want to be together or do they not want to be together? Like, come on. Very interesting character study and very much like Gossip Girl drama, like English people. It's so very English. I underlined a lot of things, like BJ has all of these tattoos dedicated to Magnolia. And they go through them, the things that he loves about her. It's just like they need to be together, but why won't they be together? It's just, ugh. So good. So good. I highly recommend this book. Highly, highly, highly recommend. On to the next book. I read this book, 5 Total Strangers, by Natalie D. Richards. I gave this book 3 stars because it is a thriller, and I've read a lot of thrillers in my life. I say that as if I'm some 45-year-old woman who's a scholar. No, I've read some thrillers. This one, the plot kind of fell flat for me, honestly. It's a good thriller to get into, but let me tell you the plot first before I go into that. So the plot is this girl is trying to get home for Christmas. I think she's 17 or 18. She's a senior in high school, and she's trying to get home for Christmas because her mom's by herself, blah, blah, blah. And she just feels this, like, responsibility to get home to her mom, and she sort of puts her own safety above what her mom wants. Her mom wants her to be safe, and she's like, oh no, my mom needs me. Your mom's a grown-ass woman, okay? She will be fine. If she knows you're stuck in a snowstorm, I digress. This story is about this girl who's trying to come home for Christmas. All the flights are canceled, and so she's stuck at the airport, and then she meets this woman on the plane. The woman comes up to her afterwards, and she's like, hey, like, me and all of these people are gonna try to take a car to where we gotta go. And she was like, do you wanna come with us? And the girl was like, sure. Mira is her name, is the main girl's name. And we're following Mira is like, let me just go with these random strangers that I know. Let's get home for Christmas. And it's this plot line of them trying to get home for Christmas and having to go through all of this, like, the snowstorm with a bunch of these idiots. And then there's much, much more of the story. She may or may not have a stalker. The ending was so lackluster. I knew it wasn't, like, the person that they were trying to get us to think it was, that, like, was the one that the plot twist was supposed to be on or whatever. I don't know. I feel like they could have made it a whole lot better. The ending was, it just fell flat, honestly. But it's a good thriller. Like, I would not recommend, but like if you read it, like it's not going to be bad. If you're just starting out with thriller. 3 stars for 5 Total Strangers. Our 5th book of the month, drumroll please. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. So Jennette McCurdy, if you don't know, if you live in Iraq, she was on iCarly. Jennette McCurdy was Sam from iCarly. That was her big breakout role. This is her memoir of her life and how she got into acting. It wasn't really her wanting to do it. It was her mom kind of forcing her to do it, and it became a way of them to be financially stable. I listened to it mostly because I was doing something. It was Jennette McCurdy that was narrating it, and I was so in it. I was so immersed in the story. It was like you were right there with her. There definitely are some trigger warnings with this book, so definitely look those up if you do plan on reading it, which I highly recommend everyone read this book because she just prevails through all of this. She got into this point in her life where it was so depressing and sad and just, you have no hope. She has no hope. She's so strong in trying to like live her life. Her mom just sucked all the joy out of her life and made her think a certain way that she should not be thinking at 6, 7, 8 years old. All the way up to when she was 21 and her mom died. Or however old she was. 25, I can't remember exactly. This just goes through her life and the secret sort of behind the child stars, that it's not just this glamorous, you're going to film stuff for work when you're like 8. There's a whole lot more to it behind the scenes. Highly recommend this book. Highly, highly, highly recommend this book. And our 6th and final book, The Bell Jar by Miss Sylvia Plath, the queen herself. Oh, I gave this a 5 star. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. If you want to get into classics, I would recommend this book being one of the first ones you read because it's easy to understand. Yes, she goes off on some tangents, but you're reading a classic, you're reading literature, sort of. So it's, of course, it's not going to be like a straight plot line. But the plot of this book is you're following this woman who slowly descends into madness, and it was sort of during like a feminist era because Sylvia Plath is a feminist author. It goes into how a woman during the 30s or the 40s, 50s, I can't remember, somewhere around there, how a feminist woman is to go about her life, and if she proclaims being a feminist, she was kind of considered crazy. One of the scenes in this is she's talking about how she wants to be a mother, and she wants to raise her kids at home, the correct way a woman should be, but she also wants to be involved in science and academics because she's a scholar and she's very smart. She goes to like this college in New York and stuff, and she experiences things in life where she just feels like a bystander. She just kind of is taken out of it and she's just watching. It kind of caught up to her. People were just like, that's so strange, that's weird, why do you not care? And then she was going through these phases where she wasn't sleeping. You just are seeing her descend into this madness, even though it probably wasn't really madness. She was probably just depressed, but they didn't know that at that time because they didn't consider depression being a real thing. But she just didn't know what she wanted to do and she felt trapped in a cage, and I think that definitely added to the depression, added to her being sent away pretty much. But it's the story of her and how she prevails through that and learns about herself. I rated this 4 stars. Just because some of it didn't need to be said. Like, I get you're trying to add ambiance or whatever. I get you're trying to add to the story. You're trying to make it more profound, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you need to be saying stuff and not go off on tangents about random stuff. So yeah, that is all. That is all I read. I read 6 books this month. These are all the books I read. Plus one that I just listened to on audio. I also listened to The Bell Jar, and I feel like that definitely helps. If you're listening, if you want to get into classics, highly recommend listening to them or following along while someone's reading it to you, because that way it keeps you on track and not just you start wandering. Because I'm trying to read something right now that's kind of harder to understand and follow, and listening to it definitely helps. I highly recommend that. So yes, these are all the books I read. Ta-da! 6 books, which is pretty good. Like, normally I'm reading maybe 4 books a month, but 6 books, go me. Thank you so much if you are still watching this video. I appreciate you so much. And literally anyone who watched this video, like, you did not have to spend however long, it's probably like a 15-minute, 10-minute video. You don't have to spend 10 minutes of your time watching me yap about books that I like to read. And if you did, I love you so much and I appreciate you. And follow me, like this video, subscribe. Ugh. I would love to do this for a living and make money and have to quit Starbucks and just be a YouTuber, because that sounds like so much fun. I love you all so very much, and I love that you love books enough to watch me. It means a lot, and it means so much to me. And everyone means so much to me. If you watch this, if you just a random person click on it, if I know you and I sent this video to you to watch. I love you all so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bless you. Bless you and your souls. Mwah.